Hi, I'm new to YouTube, just starting out, so this will be one of my very first videos. I've noticed that a lot of people on YouTube have made videos about Books of Shadows. I'm going to attempt to make one now. So I think I'd start off with my ideology of what a Book of Shadows is. Your Book of Shadows is a recollection of what you're learning, when you're learning, and how you feel about what it is you're studying. That might not work for you. That might not be what you want. You might not want to have the how you feel about things. I know that when I look back on my old Books of Shadows, like this one, a lot of it was only how I felt rather than, when and what I was learning. And I know that I really regret that. So in my later Book of Shadows, I do start, putting more about what I'm learning. Your Book of Shadows should hold things like religious feelings, beliefs, laws and codes that you live by, how, oaths and things like that. Rituals like sabbats and tools, informations, things like that. I know that once I have information in a Book of Shadows and then I go ahead and I proceed to get a new one, I won't then recopy the information. If I've already got it, I don't need it again. And I don't want to fill up a new book with stuff that I already know. So, for me, I don't think you should just copy things. And that's what I did when I first started out. I went out and I purchased a few books. Ones like this one, which, although it is an amazing book, and I have learned so much of it, it's called Spells and Psychic Powers. It's written by Soraya Gidez and Grosset. I know that I learned a lot from it, and that's the first book I ever owned, and that's what started me on my Wiccan journey. So it's very important, and I know that when I first started my Book of Shadows, I just copied things from it, word for word. And I think it's fine to copy information from one book to another, but put it in your own words, and make sure it's in your own handwriting. A lot of people think that you should just, type it up on the computer, and that's fine too. If that's what feels right to you, then go ahead and do that. I know for me, having it in my own handwriting makes it feel like more of a part of me. I mean, I am a techno witch. I do a lot of technology magic and, SMS spells and things like this. But when it comes down to it, I think a Book of Shadows should be recorded in your own handwriting. I do then scan that and have a digital copy for myself in case I ever lose that physical book. The next thing, this book, Witch's Bible, it's very popular. It's by Janet and Stuart Farrar, and I learned a lot from it as well. All the Sabbat rituals and tool information and things like that, really traditional things, are held in that book, and I disagree with a lot of it. After reading Gerald Gardner's Book of Shadows, I considered that maybe Wicca wasn't right for me. But Wicca is an ever-evolving thing. It's something that's always changing and always growing. It's become a very broad term, excuse me. So I think a lot of people say, what about diary entries and things like that? I think they're okay as long as you keep them to the topic of magic. I don't think that you should write things like, today I went to the shops, or waste your time, unless you should have your own journal for that. If that's how you feel you want to keep things, then have a spare journal, have something else that you can record those in. Another thing people argue about is the name, Book of Shadows or Grimoire. Both can be sufficient. For me, I know that I view a grimoire as a book of information. A Book of Shadows for me is a recollection of learning that goes beyond just information. I know that when I learn something, I record it and then, explain what it is in my own terms so that I can remember it, ways that I can memorize this information, and then going in from there. So that's what's important for me. Another thing about my books of shadows that I know is very important for myself personally is the way they look. If a book of shadows is not visually pleasing for me, I will discard it. This one is just, plain line paper. I've hardly even started. I've only got a couple of entries in this, and I've had it since Samhain, so yeah, that's a little while. So yeah, for me, it has to be visually pleasing. I don't go as far as scrapbooking them, but I do like to write it in my best handwriting, and I do like to sometimes add pictures or images and whatnot. My altar is also very ornate. I can't handle having something that's not attractive, or I can't really connect with it. I'm a very vain person, very worried about looks and things like that, and I know that's not very Wiccan of me, but that's just the way I am. So it's the way I was brought up. So I guess I've carried that on through my spiritual path. I think my fairy nature might have something to do with that also. Being attracted to, shiny things. It goes beyond that, but on a basic level, I think the things that are attractive to me spiritually as well. So, with that, I just wanted to say that a book of shadows, and I know this isn't helpful, but a book of shadows is whatever you want it to be. And it should just be full of things that you want in it. So, just keep that in mind when creating your first book of shadows. And really, if you're just starting out, it's more important to keep a book of shadows, in my point of view. It's more important than you write down new things that you're learning and how you feel about those things. Reading through some of the older texts, about Wicca, they say all about polarity, and that sort of disagrees with homosexuality. And I know that in the modern Wicca, we disagree with that. We find our polarity within ourselves. We all have masculine and feminine elements that are inside ourselves, and we need to find a equilibrium of that within ourselves. It's not so important to have a man and a woman. It's important to have those energies, masculine and feminine. And if we can find an even balance of those, sort of have androgynous energies, if you will, we can create all those things ourselves. So whether we're on our own doing solitary work, we can still invoke the god or the goddess. Gender is not so important. So I think that with that, just keep those things in mind when you're creating your first book, or if you're still creating books. If you've got 100 already, and you're creating your 101st, then that's something you should keep in mind. So, thanks for watching. Bye.